All right, we are now recording. All right, just some housekeeping rules before we get started. Um, so during the session, if you have already applied for a position with us and you're trying to check on status, since this is only an hour session and we want to make sure we utilize our time and get a chance to talk to all of our panelists, we won't be able to give status updates, but you can send us an email. Our email is recruiting@k12.com and we'll be able to connect you with a recruiter. We will be having a Q&A session, so please save your questions to the Q&A. That way we can get through all of the information. You'll see a Q&A box. If you're seeing it through the Zoom, you'll see a Q&A box. You can put your questions there and we will try to get to as many as we can. And again, feel free to say your name, state you're in the chat box. And again, we are recording this session, so if you're unable to stay for the entire thing, we will be sending this out. So again, I want to welcome everyone. If you've registered through Zoom or if you're on Facebook Live, welcome. This is our first time that we're doing this on Facebook Live, so I'm super excited. But I'm going to give the mic over to Colleen so we can introduce our speakers for today and get things started. So I'm going to go off camera, but you will be hearing from me later on today.
Thank you, Drea. Welcome, everybody. Just want to take this little bit of time here at the beginning to just introduce to you the speakers for today. So I'm just going to go ahead and go down the line here. If you just want to state your job title and what school you work at, and then we can get really to the meat of the webinar. So I'll start off. My name is Colleen. I'm a recruiter here on the academic team. I recruit for multiple different schools across our regions. And I look forward to maybe talking with some candidates later. So I'll kick it over to Susan.
Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Susan Kranz. I am a kindergarten teacher at Indiana Digital Learning School, and I have been here over 4 years. So thank you, everybody. I look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Susan. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Higgins, and I am an 8th grade math teacher at Texas Online Preparatory School. And this is my 7th year with Stride.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Bethany?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bethany McLean, and I am a special education administrator for High Point Virtual Academy in Michigan. And I've been with Stride for about 3 years, and I was a special education teacher for Stride before I took the administrator position. So I have some teacher insight as well. So thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Bethany. Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy Luterman. I am the elementary academic administrator or the principal for K through 6 at Indiana Digital Learning School. This is my 5th year with Stride, and I was a teacher for 1 year in the elementary before I took over as principal.
Great. Thanks, everybody. So just a little back information here on Stride. We were formerly known as K-12. We've been around for over 20 years, and we've become a leader in providing, online education from kids from kindergarten to high school across the country. We've opened up the door the past few years and we now, provide education from every stage from pre-K to primary to secondary, and then some second career options for folks as well. So now really getting into the meat of our webinar, we're just going to kind of go around the horn, if you will, and we'll talk to everybody about the daily schedule, some different resources that we use, and different things that K-12 does. So we'll start off here with Susan. If you just want to give us a brief overview of the daily schedule, the day in the life of an elementary teacher, if you will, and then we'll kind of move on to middle school and getting the perspective from special education as well. So I'll kick it over to you, Susan.
Sure. So I start my day in the morning. I have prep time before my classes start. I always like to check my email, returning phone calls that I might need to do, and then go through the process of getting my classroom ready, setting up a classroom in a virtual world, opening that classroom up, making sure my slides and presentation are ready to go for the day. And we set that up. And then I teach 4 groups of students through the day. In kindergarten, even though they have a full curriculum, what I teach most for their time with me is reading and math. So I work with those 4 groups during the day. We do lots of fun things in kindergarten. I know we expand all ages, but even the young kids, they love coming to school virtually. So there's a lot of interaction one-on-one. So I always say you can't have a bad day teaching kindergarten. So those little ones are so excited to come and see us every day. So then after classes, then we have in the afternoon, we have time to meet with our colleagues. We work really closely as a team. I have fellow kindergarten teachers that I meet with in our planning. We go through the curriculum and kind of plan together what things are working, what things do we need to tweak a little bit going forward with our students. And then of course, there's always the grading and that kind of thing that you do any type of teaching. And then at the end of the day, I go back and reach out to their families. Our families are very involved in our school, which makes it a great place to be because you get to meet and work with not just your students, but their learning coaches and their families. And so I really enjoy that part of my day too. So that's kind of the day as my day goes.
Thank you, Susan. Jessica, anything to add to a different perspective from the middle school standpoint?
Yes, I will add that this is my 7th year with Stride, and in every single year I've had a different schedule. So they do adjust the schedule based on the needs of the school at the time, how many students you have and teachers and things like that. But this year I teach one 45-minute whole group class and then a 30-minute small group class each day, Monday through Thursday. My school has Fridays set aside for clubs, and we call it Genius Hour, which is focused on student interests and things like that. This is my 2nd school to work with Stride, and at my old school, it was a little bit different. We had staff meetings on Fridays, and so it does vary school to school and grade level to grade level as far as your actual schedule. I will add, we also have special education meetings and 504 meetings that we have to attend, just like a brick and mortar teacher, but we do have a heavy load of emails and family communication throughout the day.
Thanks, Jessica. I really like your point there that everybody just kind of keep in mind, like Jessica said, all of this is varies from state to state, school to school, elementary, middle school, but just trying to give you a few different perspectives here. Bethany, is there anything you would like to add from the special education perspective?
So obviously schedules are different, as everybody mentioned. As far as special education teacher, it depends on your students, depends on your caseload, student needs. There's some small grouping that we do throughout the day, some co-teaching, which again is a little different at each school, I imagine, and with each grade level, it's a little bit different. At our school, we are a K through 12th grade school. So what my elementary special education teachers, how they work with their students is a little different than middle school and high school. We have that flexibility based on caseloads and what the needs of students are as far as grouping them together for reading goals, math goals, whatever that looks like. And we also have some students that need that one-on-one support for their IEPs. So just like any publicly funded school, we have to have all the IEP support, special education processes. We follow obviously Michigan MDE, but also IDEA. So we follow all the same laws, regulations, certifications, and so forth. So as far as the day-to-day, we have time to have IEP meetings. We have time to meet with co-teachers, meet as a department. That's all built right into our schedules, some prep time, and not a whole lot of behaviors like you would get in brick and mortar schools. So we really get to focus on that educational piece and really digging in with students to see that growth. And it's a lot of the same, but it's a lot of the different as far as the environment goes. So some things to keep in mind if you're in special education and brick and mortar and you're feeling just a little bit burnout, it's a different kind of focus. So that is kind of how our days go.
Awesome. Thank you, Bethany. Now we'll just kind of touch on the digital tools and resources available to our teachers. So Susan, if you want to kind of start us off there.
Sure. So we use the Stride curriculum that they have for us. So we, our students are able to log in at home and work on that curriculum and with their learning coach. And then we are able to see how they do with that. And then I think someone was asking about the platform we use in the classroom. It is very Zoom-like, very Google Classroom-like. It's actually called New Row. It's been great. The kids can be on their cameras, on their microphone with us. It's very interactive. It gives us time too. We can go into breakout rooms just like you would in Zoom. You can work one-on-one with students. Students can work with partners. They can work in groups. So you can really make it as real world as you want to using those tools in a virtual classroom. So we really, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are those things that you would have done in a brick and mortar? How can we make it work in the virtual world? And usually there's a solution there to make that work. So we use that. My little ones, they have an online library that is part of the curriculum too, that's open, that has hundreds of libraries. That's part of their login. When they log into Stride, they can log right into that online library. They pick all kinds of books and things that they can read. So we use that as a resource too.
Thank you, Susan. Jessica, anything to add there? Or?
Yes, I will say for Texas, I saw we have lots of people from Texas here, so welcome. In Texas, they provide, in middle school, they provide math workbooks that are actual physical books that they send out and physical textbooks. 8th grade students get a calculator mailed to them. It's a graphing calculator. So any type of materials that they'll actually need for the class, they get sent. Science teachers, for science classes, the students receive an actual lab kit with things for them to actually do physical labs at home with their learning coaches. So they receive all of those resources. Online resources, we use a website called USA Test Prep, which actually yesterday changed names, and I'm not sure what the new name is. But so we have different resources for creating assessments and assigning to students and tracking their growth and progress throughout the year academically. We also, my school purchased a license for ClassKick, which is just a website. So they're very open. My administration is very open to receiving feedback and ideas, and they look into different resources for teachers to use. And a lot of times they will bring them on board.
Nice. Thank you, Jessica. Bethany, anything extra to add there? Or?
Not too much. We, anything we can find electronically to help with, data collection for students with IEP goals. We just have some great resources that we utilize, and any programs that will benefit students. We have like Reading Eggs. We have, just whatever is out there resource wise. We try to get those in place for students. So just a lot of resources, I guess, is the best way to say it. And we're very open to, what is best for students. How can we, support them best in any situation, especially with special education students needing some assistive technology or, whatever supports are on their IEPs in addition to what we have for all students. So yeah, that's pretty much how we roll. And we use Zoom for some meetings. We use New Roll, which is a platform that our school uses. I think most schools use New Row now. So we use some different platforms for meetings, but everything you need, we get it. So within reason. So yeah, technology is kind of our area of expertise. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thanks, Bethany. We'll kind of move on to our student and parent engagement. Susan, if you want to start off and just kind of give us an overview of what that looks like from your perspective here as a teacher.
Sure. So like I said, the students, they log into class with me, depending on their schedule, once or twice a day in kindergarten. They are live with me on their microphones, on their camera. That is the best part of my day. Then also when they are in class, because they are so young, they have learning coaches with them. That is an adult that stays with them during class, because as much as these little ones learn to use the computer and they know how to do things, things do happen. Their microphone stops working, their camera stops working, and I can't work their computer for them. So an adult is always there to help them with that kind of hand. Because an adult is with them, there is someone else besides the student that knows what's going on in your classroom. So that is wonderful. The communication is open all the time, open lines of communication. You really build some great teamwork between yourself and the learning coaches and the families as far as the student education. They make sure on the other side that they are getting their student logged into class every day. If they are caring enough to make sure that student is logged into class, their computer's charged, their computer's working, their cameras on, their microphones on, they care about their students' education and they want to work with you. They want that back and forth relationship. So that is something I think is very special in the virtual world. That makes the job, I think, so unique and rewarding in that part of it. So I've had some great relationships from that. The students, they have great relationships with each other. That is another great question I get a lot, is in the virtual world, are the students just learning by themselves? Is it, they're learning just with me? No, we have an open classroom. We have open discussions. We have mics open. Today, my students were in a breakout room a couple of times. They read to each other. They did math problems together. We love that cooperative learning. So that is definitely still a part of the educational world here in the virtual world.
Awesome. Jessica, anything to add from the middle school perspective, with kids being a little bit older and maybe not having so many, issues as the little ones?
Yes, we have far fewer learning coaches sitting with their students throughout the day. It's usually just the students sitting there and they're chatting themselves because they can type and write, and they're in 8th grade. And we get emails usually from the students. So in middle school, we actually do a lot of training on email etiquette and how to appropriately reach out and write an email to their teachers, and we encourage that. And then you do also hear from parents as well, but it is mostly from the students. They do work together in Neuro as well in our classes, and they do a great job of interacting with each other in class. We also, in Texas at least, I'm not sure if it's nationwide, but in Texas we do outings when it's not pandemic times. We try to do in-person outings at least once a semester. With COVID, we've been doing virtual outings, so it's students around the state just kind of getting together to socialize, which is really fun. I do talk and text a lot. I do a lot more texting in middle school than phone calls, I would say. The parents and students are really big into texting with me on my office phone. And but they're very engaged. You get to know them very well throughout the year.
Thank you. Bethany, anything to add there?
Just virtual IEPs. It's a new thing that everybody has been learning during the pandemic anyways, but just communications, email, phone calls, in-person meetings aren't really a thing for us at this in the virtual world. So for special education, same, holding our meetings, timelines, all of that's the same. It's just done virtually. So yeah, communication's
Awesome.
big. Those emails and phone calls to parents, and that's how we work it.
Thank you. I'm now going to kick it over to Amy, who is an elementary academic administrator at one of our schools in Indiana, and just have her talk about professional development a little bit. So take it away, Amy.
Professional development is something that we here at Stride think is very important. We want our teachers to grow. We want them to be up to date on anything that's new out there. They get opportunities through K-12 training throughout the year to sign up for anything they might be interested in. As you know, tomorrow will be promising practices, which is a huge thing for all of us. gives all the teachers and admin and everybody that works here a chance to experience new things. As far as each school, I know each school does everything a little bit differently, but we do, at our school, we have 3 times a year where we meet in person and we get a chance to actually make those connections with our coworkers and make those bonds. We do professional development 3 times a year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. During COVID, of course, we did it virtually, which was kind of a little bit different for us because we used to do, we always did it in person those couple times a year. But we do encourage all of our teachers to seek out other opportunities for professional development. We will encourage them to attend anything virtually, anything that they can do in person. And we do make sure that we help the expense of that. They're able to expense things. If they see something that's new and they really want to try it, we encourage it. That's just some of the stuff we do for professional development.
Awesome, thank you. We'll move on to curriculum and lesson planning. And Amy, I'll have you start, and then Bethany, I'll have you give your perspective if you would for special education. So go ahead, Amy.
At our school, and I know most of the schools, they like to do what's called curriculum mapping. Every school is a little bit different based on what your state standards are and what you have state requirements as. But we make sure that as far as curriculum, we want to make sure we're hitting those state standards. So we do have curriculum maps. I know most of the Stride schools do not expect you to have daily lesson plans like what you would see at a lot of schools where you have to fill out these elaborate lesson plans. That is something that you won't have to do when you're online. You're not going to have to fill out these 4 or 5 page forms that you used to have to fill out. You would keep a curriculum map based on what your school prefers. And then lesson planning, you're matching it up to whatever you're doing in your D2L, which would be what the high school and middle school, junior high would be doing. They use D2L, so you would do your lesson planning through your D2L. For the K through 5, you use a program called OLS, which is Online Learning School. And a lot of that curriculum is mapped out for you. And then you have a program, in that program, you can adjust it to what you think your students need. So if you think your students need something earlier than what it is in the timeline, you just change the timeline for those students. You always want to make sure that you meet what the students' needs are, and that gives you the flexibility to adjust your curriculum for whatever they need.
Awesome. Bethany, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we work really closely with the general education teachers and actually help with the curriculum maps and are part of that process. Standards-based IEPs. So we're really looking at what the standards are for your state based on that. And then the general education curriculum, we write our IEPs aligned with the standards and then at the student levels so that we can build up those skills. So there's not a specific curriculum we use for special education. We pull together some different resources depending on the grade levels. We just have a lot of flexibility with getting those resources and then sharing them with each other. So between grade levels, I have a lot of elementary teachers that work together and they share the resources. Middle school, high school, they have some different programs for the older students. So they work closely together to determine what would be useful for several students and then put that into play. And then as far as lessons, it's really just based on students' goals and objectives on their IEPs and whatever their goal areas are. So that side of things is pretty similar. It's just a matter of using some great online resources so that you don't have to create everything, especially with our students with special needs. Sometimes they need, bigger print, they need, some different resources. So we pull in as many of those as we can find and then work on those student needs and group together if needed. So it's just very individualized.
Thank you, Bethany. Last, I'm just going to kick it off to Amy to talk a little bit about our teacher evaluations.
Okay, so Stride has gone to great lengths to make sure that teacher evaluations are up to date and current. So we want to be on the edge of what technology can give us in order to help evaluate our teachers and to give them the instant feedback that they need. This year we implemented nationwide a program called Standards for Success. This program allows the administration to go in and observe their teachers and then give instant feedback. So they go in, they can look at their teachers, they can watch them in the classroom, they can type up the stuff and instantly give them the feedback before they ever even leave the classroom, which gives them a great opportunity to give them those moments where, hey, you're doing this, this is awesome, and hey, maybe you could change this, and the teacher would instantly know, so they could make an adjustment within 24 hours. Like the next class they have, they could totally, do the ideas that the administration gave them. They get 2 informal walkthroughs a month. Some may get more, it depends on the school. Some like to do it every week, some like to do it, every other week. And they also get what's called an asynchronous walkthrough, is what we call it at our school. It's an async walkthrough. This gives the chance for the administration to look at their D2L, Desire to Learn, which is the high school program, junior high program. And it also gives them a chance to do the OLS. So they can give feedback on how the teachers are doing with that curriculum and how they're adjusting it. And if they're doing their class assignments, they're grading on time, all those things that are very important to a virtual student, because that's their connection to their actual learning. So these async walkthroughs give the teachers a chance to get instant feedback on, hey, I'm doing this great, I got this under control. And it gives the administration a chance to be able to have a checklist right there that they can check.
Awesome. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for taking their time today to kind of give us some insight to what it's like to be a teacher here at K-12. So now we're going to touch on the hiring process and what that kind of looks like for our candidates. So all of our job postings are going to be posted at www.stridelearning.com/careers. You'll then select the top link, which is listed as teaching and academic jobs. That's going to take you to all of our openings. There is a search bar at the top, so you can search for, if you're in Michigan and you're looking for a math teaching position, you can search in Michigan math. We also have different drop downs. You can just search the state. You can put in CA for California. That will take you to all of our California specific openings. I know this is a question I'm seeing a lot in the chat box, and this is a question we get a lot anyway. Our managed public schools typically require you to be certified and to live in the state in which the job is posted. With that being said, there are some, sometimes that's not always the case. So on our careers page, if you search the word virtual, that is going to bring up the positions that do not have any residency requirements. So for those positions, you most likely just need to be certified in the content area of the position. So just a little tip there, if you are not in a state where the job is posted, to try to find one that may work for you. Otherwise, you'll just kind of want to stick to the state that you live in and are certified to teach in, and kind of go from there. So from there, you're able to create a candidate profile, register with your email, upload your resume and certification. It's extremely helpful to the recruiter if you're able to upload a copy of that teaching certificate, just so we don't have to go to the state website or track you down to get a copy of that. Next, you want to make sure that you apply to as many positions as you see fit, as you're qualified for, etc. Just because you apply to one position does not mean that it applies you for multiple positions. So you'll have to submit separate applications. From there, a recruiter will be able to review your application. If selected, you'll be asked to conduct either a digital interview via HireVue, which some of you may have already done in the past. We are able to reuse those. And then from there, you'll either move to a phone, Zoom, or maybe sometimes a face-to-face interview with the hiring manager. From there, then kind of comes the offer phase, and where the recruiter will reach out to you and go over the specific offer information. We have begun posting positions for the upcoming school year as well. So I know a lot of people are asking that question. So, definitely feel free to check out our job boards daily as they do change. It's not like they just change on a weekly basis. They are live and we are making changes to them as we get them. All right, so now we will kind of go to our Q&A box, and Alyssa and Chai, if there's any questions that need to be asked to the panelists to kind of be discussed, we can kind of go from there.
We have a question about national board certification. Can a teacher be going for her national board search while teaching at Stride?
Does anybody have any insight onto that? I don't see why that would be a problem. I mean, as long as they were hired with the certification of the state that they are hired in, I don't see why it would be a problem that they're going for their national cert.
And we always encourage people to seek extra education.
The other question, we have several questions around caseload. I did say it varies from state to state, depending on what the student teacher ratios are for that state.
Sure. Amy, you want to talk about that?
I can answer that question. It depends on enrollments. That's the majority of it. The typical elementary, like K-3 classroom would have 50 students or less in your homeroom. And then those students would be divided back down to those 4 groups. So you aren't seeing a huge majority of students at one time. In older grades, you would probably see what you would consider a normal classroom of students per section. So like, let's say 6th grade, you would have 5 sections, and you might have, they're based on leveling, and you would see those students at different times during the day. So you would see each one of them for a 50-minute session. So you'd have about 25 kids to 35 kids, depending on enrollment and what the kids' abilities are. I know in Indiana, we make sure to group the kids so that you can teach them the level that they're at. So we try to keep kids that way. So a typical classroom would be what you would see at a normal brick and mortar. Less for the little elementary.
Oh, so sorry. In Texas, we do it slightly differently, which again, it varies every state to state, but we have a whole group session. So I have 80 students. So I see all 80 students at one time, but virtually it's very, very manageable inside New Row. It's not a big deal whatsoever. And other teachers might have more up to like 125, 150 whole group. But then in our small groups, we break it down by level, and there's usually less than 40 students. We try to keep them around 25. Our state tested subjects will have those smaller groups. Our non-state tested subjects like science and social studies in 6th and 7th grade, they have a higher caseload, probably in the 200s area, but again, virtually it's very manageable. The online program actually does a lot of the grading for you, and within the New Row classroom, it's very manageable as well.
Thank you. Any other questions in the chat box?
There's one I can answer.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat box. They're asking about like music, PE, health. A lot of the schools do have what we call CTE in the high school and middle school. Those are those electives. And we really encourage all of those electives to be taught in our schools. We do offer at our school specifically, we even try to get some elementary in there and give the kids a taste of what they would have as they get into the older grades. So yes, there are always a need for music, PE, health, and those teachers are always needed just as much as an English or math teacher.
Great, thank you. Alyssa or Chai, do you see anything else that could be discussed amongst the group?
I just wanted to touch on the contract question. Do you sign a regular contract? So we don't have typical teacher contracts. It's going to be just an employment contract with Stride, and then you are just paid biweekly through your career with Stride, but it's not like a typical contract that you're signing year to year. You are employed with Stride until either party terminates that agreement.
I also can answer the curriculum one.
Awesome.
I would say a lot of the schools are very flexible on the curriculum. They want the curriculum to fit the student's needs, that individualized planning for a student and a group of students. So the curriculum they are flexible on. It gives the students an opportunity to, to meet the students where they are for their needs, and the teacher can do some really, really good things. Oh, I got a cat behind me. Do some really good things to adjust curriculum to fit like real world situations and anything that would be something that like they would want to cover for their state standards.
Something that Amy just mentioned was individualized learning, and something that's really great in our D2L curriculum is that you can pick pieces of each lesson to assign to an instructional level. So if you have a special ed student who might need a little more remediation, a little more broken down in the concept, you can assign just that piece of the lesson to that student that might need it. And on the other side, if you have a student who's very advanced, you can assign specific challenges to those students specifically. So it's very, very customizable. There's even brand new this year, which we're very excited about, the Stride Learning Hub, where you can go in and find different lessons that have been created around the country for your concept and kind of plug it into your lessons as well. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Thank you, Jessica. I see a lot of questions around benefits. So I'm going to touch on that for a quick minute. Again, it is dependent on the state. It's dependent on the school. But, we provide the opportunity during our application process for you to disclose your desired salary. That way we can ensure it does align with what we are able to offer. Unfortunately, I cannot discuss salary ranges today, just again, because it does differ so much between the schools and the states, et cetera. We do offer full medical benefits for our full-time Stride teachers. That would include medical, dental, and vision, which are effective on your first date of employment. Most of our schools participate with Stride's 401k retirement plan with company match. And I think that is it. What am I missing, Alyssa, as far as benefits? Is there any other questions about benefits in there that I'm missing?
No, and I just want to touch on this though for the Stride retirement. So yeah, we do offer a 401k. So that means that you would no longer be participating with your state retirement program. So that's just something to mention as well.
Great, thank you. There's also a question around technology for our teachers, and K-12 does provide all of our teachers with equipment. Amy's, it might differ per school what they get, but what is a brief overview maybe?
Most of the schools, you always get a laptop.
Yeah.
You, especially our schools, we make sure that we send out the, like Jessica was talking about earlier, those hardcover books, those hardcover, the actual physical stuff. Any of our teachers would get the same set of books and all the curriculum they need that is sent to the student. They also get a copy of it so they can see what the student gets. And we also send a headset, because sometimes it's hard to know like what headsets. So at our school, you get a phone, depending on what state you're in. You would either get a program that goes through your headset, through the computer for your phone. Some of the locations do physical phones. So you have an actual hardwire phone that comes into your computer and then you can use it. We always make sure, you have to have an extra monitor. It's like essential. Right now I'm sitting here with 3 monitors. So anybody that's taught virtual or even worked virtually now, you always have to have those additional monitors, and we do provide those for our teachers.
Yes, they are life-saving.
Special education teachers get a printer if needed. I saw Bethany do so any of those special education teachers also get an actual printer so that they're able to print things, to adjust stuff. And sometimes it's hard to see it virtually online. It's easier to physically go through it. So
great. I'm seeing some questions around like alternative certifications and initial licensure. Again, I hate to keep saying this, it does depend on the state and the school. You know, for instance, I know Texas right now is allowing for some of those alternative certifications for their positions. I know in Indiana, I work with them, and we will work with folks who are, you know, are enrolled in that transition to teacher program, things like that. So again, it definitely just depends on the state and the school as far as that goes.
And I can say we also are looking for special education alternative certification programs for my school, at least, because of the critical shortage that we have here in Michigan, and I know some other states do as well. So I do have a couple of teachers.
Indiana does too. We're critically in need of special education teachers.
So we can't even share with each other because we're both having issues. So I have a couple of teachers right now that are on an alternative path to special education certification, and it's a great opportunity to teach virtually and get those other endorsements that you maybe have been thinking about all this time. And like I said, special education, if you are considering that, I would absolutely reach out to the schools in your state and just see what options they might have for you right now.
Yes. Susan or Jessica, do you just want to touch on like the teacher like the school calendar for just a minute, you know, what that kind of looks like compared to a brick and mortar?
Sure. I know our calendar is very similar to the schools. I mean, especially our local schools. I mean, I have children, and so my calendar kind of aligns with, you know, our local schools here too. So it's probably very similar to what you're used to. And also there were some questions too. I was reading about the day. Do you have time to prep? Do you have time to grade? All of that is built into your day. It definitely is. You do have a day. It looks just pretty much like a normal day, like you would have in brick and mortar, where you have some time in the morning, and then, you know, your students are there, and then your students leave, and then you have time in the afternoon. That's kind of what the day looks like. And I know for us, we do work that typical day from 8 to 4. That's our hours that, you know, we're there and present working in front of our computers too. I think that was one of the questions.
I will say in Texas, we have state testing in June. That is required. So there's 1 week in June that Texas teachers for Stride have to report in person for the in-person testing. I know that's probably just Texas. I just wanted to throw that out there for the Texas teachers. But it is very similar schedule to the local school districts in Texas. I will say also, when the local districts have a snow day, or as we have today, an ice day, I still had to teach my classes and I still had to work. So, but the great thing is my kids were home from school today, but it was no big deal for me. They just sat upstairs on their tablets while I taught my classes and worked today. But just kind of keep that in mind as well. But it's great. The flexibility works great.
Our school actually does have one virtual snow day a year.
Oh, that's cool.
We save a day and we do a virtual snow day once a year. And it was actually during our head of school chose a day that we knew that the majority of the state of Indiana would be out. And she's called a snow day, and they did an all call. So they were able to have one virtual snow day, because that was the one thing a lot of kids and parents said, oh, we won't have snow days anymore when they first came to our school. So our principal kept that one day for that virtual snow day. But it is very flexible being a teacher or an administrator here. If you're, you know, especially with COVID and things that are going on, you never know when your kids are going to get quarantined. You can actually work with it, and it makes it easy for you to be able to work around that.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that K-12 does reimburse for all required travel within the state, as far as state testing, professional development, etc. Awesome.
Yep. You fill out expense reports, and then also if you do anything that you get, like teachers pay teachers, things like that, depending on the school. But every school I've talked to, you've been able to reimburse for any extra, like extra additional resources you need. You can always expense.
Awesome. I know I get this question a lot, and I do see it in the chat around substitutes. And if you're out for a day, what does that kind of look like?
The best thing ever about this job is that when you are out sick, or if you have a doctor's appointment, you don't have to do sub plans. I have a PLC team of 5 teachers. So I just say, hey, I'm out this day. Someone send me your recording link. And every class is recorded. So if your student's absent, they can watch the recording. If you are absent, you can have a teammate's recording and send that out. Or sometimes if I know in advance, I'll just make my own little recording and send it to students. So it's really great. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, you don't have to do the planning. What we also like to do is sometimes if someone's going to be out for, like, if we have a maternity leave or something like that, then we do tend to get a substitute. And then what happens with that is they work with that grade level team or that math teacher, another math teacher in that grade, and they use the other person's plans and the other person's PowerPoints and all that and all their resources. So you don't have to prep when you're leaving. And also what is nice is you can invite other teachers, students to your groups. So sometimes we have people, like if somebody's out testing, doing state testing, they may invite the other students from a different class to their class, which gives the kids a chance to meet other kids. And then the students don't miss a live instruction day.
Awesome. To all of our attendees, any final questions that you would like to type in the chat box to get answered? Give just everybody maybe a couple of minutes here just to see if any filter through. I see somebody asking if you can be a teacher and a stay-at-home mom real quick. I mean, Jessica, I know you said today is a certain circumstance, but maybe just kind of touch on that a little bit.
I think it kind of varies with your schedule each year. I had one year where I was in live classes for, 4 hours a day, and that would not have gone well with my kids at home. So I put them in a preschool, or I had a babysitter kind of watch them. But it depends on your school. It depends on your situation. I'm lucky that I have my mother that lives 10 minutes down the road, so she can come over and watch my kids if she needed to. They're in school now, but when they were young and in preschool, or even when they were toddlers, I did have them here at home with me, but I had my mom here with them to watch them, because you are really working. It really is a 40-hour work week. You are working in Texas, we're 8 to 5 with an hour lunch. So I would just be mindful of the fact that you will be very focused on your job and distracted. There's lots of tasks to get done, but it is possible to have your children home with you to a certain extent.
Great, thank you. Also, one other thing I do want to add is I know a lot of people are looking for jobs for 22, 23, and I know we might not have them posted for every state quite yet. There is an opportunity on our careers page for you to activate job alerts for this search. So for instance, I believe somebody said they were just looking for PE and health in Louisiana. If you go to our careers page and you type in the company location as LA for Louisiana, to the right-hand side, there is a little blue box and it says activate job alerts for this search. The system will then notify you when we do post positions for that state, so you can kind of get alerted to that. Just wanted to throw that out there as one of the last little tidbits here. I think that about sums it up. Drea, I will kind of turn it back to you.
Thank you, Colleen. Make sure I'm still on the microphone. And if there are any more questions, we can answer a couple more. But I did want to plug our conference that we have tomorrow, our 11th annual Promising Practices. This year, it is open to everyone. So anyone in the education field, if you have friends that you know that are interested in learning more about different practices, this isn't just for Stride. We're opening it up so anyone can register. We're going to be putting the link into our chat box in a few minutes. But you can join that. It's from 9:30 until 5, but there are different sessions throughout the day. And again, it is virtual. So you'll be able to hear from more staff from Stride. And they have a lot of things planned. I'm super excited to go into our 11th year of doing this annually. And so we wanted to extend that invitation to those that have registered today and just let you know that that will be going on tomorrow. Also, we will be having this event again on Monday. If you know someone that may not have attended today, but you think this might be some good information that they may want to hear, definitely let them know about the event on Monday. It will be at 4 o'clock, and we will have the link on our sites as well. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the platforms. We will be sending this recording out to those that registered. We'll send that out as well. But we just wanted to give a few of those plugs before we wrapped up today. But any final thoughts from our panelists before we end today? Feel free to hop on the mic.
My only thought is, if you've ever thought about working virtually, Stride is the place to work, because they make sure to take care of their teachers and take care of their staff. It's always a good choice.
Awesome. All right. And I think we had some other people that were answering questions in there. We did post a link for Promising Practices in the chat box. You can feel free to click on that if you are interested in registering. I do want to thank all of our participants today for coming and sharing their experiences in the classroom and their experiences as administrators. Thank you all again. You will see some of these faces on Monday as well, and they'll be sharing more. Thanks to everyone that attended today. Thank you I see a ton of questions we answered today. I know if we have not answered your question, again, if you can still email us either on talentteam@k12.com or recruiting at K12 if it's like a specific recruiting question. Most of us are answering those questions in that inbox. So if we didn't get a chance to answer those, you can still send that as well. Also, don't forget to follow us. I just saw a few people follow up on my phone. So thank you for following us. We always appreciate new followers. And we also try to post content throughout the day and throughout the week. So I will give you all back a few minutes to your day. But again, I want to thank everybody for joining today. Thank you, Alyssa and Chai, for being in the chat box and answering questions. It's been rapid fire and you've been amazing. So we will see you on Monday for our encore event of our National Teacher Open House. We will be sending this recording out to you all as well. But thank you again, and we hope to see you all soon. My name is Andrea Wilson, and I will see you later. Bye, everybody.